welcome everybody to Week 2 of the Cincinnati Bengals Weekly Show on the Grueling Truth Radio Network. I'm your host, Mike Goodpaster, and I want to welcome in my co-host, former Bengals linebacker, Joe Kelly. Joe, it's Steeler Week.
Hey, Mike, it's Steeler Week. All, just at every moment, man. This is probably the biggest week of the season. Twice a year, but we're ready. I'm excited. It's going to be a hell of a game, and both teams won. Pittsburgh looked, especially, they looked pretty good. They were
playing Washington, and I'm still not convinced Washington's that good.
Yeah, they were playing the Redskins. So it's going to be an exciting matchup. I think I'm going to most likely go to the game just to be there. I went last year, and it was the emotion and the feeling that we had after that game and beating them down in Pittsburgh, man. It was brought back a lot of that adrenaline from the old days, man, and we had a great time down there. So hopefully,
and the great thing about going to Pittsburgh, Joe, is when you go there's like 60,000 people there, and you're automatically one of the smarter ones.
Right. Yeah, it seemed like last year, man, it was about 65,000, and it just seemed like it was maybe 15 Bengal fans. So it was a tough crowd, but it was worth it. It was worth it. First time going to Pittsburgh as a fan, and it was a hell of an experience.
All right, so let's talk a little bit about the Bengals' first game, an opening win against the Jets, 23-22. The thing that really impressed me about it was, number one, the thing that worried me about it is the offensive line looked terrible. But number two, the thing that impressed me is the way they completely changed what they were doing offensively early second quarter, start getting rid of the ball quick, a lot of screens, a lot of short passes. Dalton played phenomenal in the last three quarters, and they pull out a 23-22 win against a really good New York Jets team.
Yeah, I think some of the things, the key points that you hit on, I think one thing that we did establish was that Andy Dalton is in that top tier of quarterbacks.
Yeah,
he came out.
Definitely.
He was sharp. He was very professional. He had his lunch pail. He went to work. And another thing you can Bengal fans can definitely look forward to is the connection that he and A.J. Green had. I think it's been a great connection, but I see that magic. I see that magic when you look at those great quarterback wide receiver combinations throughout the NFL history, and I think these two guys are going to be special. And then also, like you said, the offensive line, we looked terrible. I will say, as a matter of fact, that the New York Jets, their defensive line, in my opinion, is one of the top 3-4 defensive lines in the National Football League.
Yeah, there's no doubt, which is one thing that I took a little consolation in. First game of the year, maybe the best defensive line in football, if not the best, like you said, one of the 3 or 4 best. So maybe that was a little bit of the problem, that their defensive line was so good. But, it still worries me, this offensive line, Joe.
It does. There's a lot of things. You looked at the game, we're football guys. And, average fan is looking at the game, and what we gave them, like 7 sacks, 8 sacks?
Yeah.
I know they broke the record. They start talking about the New York Stock Exchange when Gastineau and all those guys. So you knew that D-line was having a great day. But when I was looking at it, it looked like we were just getting pushed around. We were getting out physical, outmanned. But I can honestly tell you, just looking at that game, there was at least 4 of those sacks that were just totally blown assignments. And when you look at, in the preseason, those guys being hurt, Whitworth and those guys playing a quarter, and now you're in a real game, real time, real speed. You're there. They're coming out with defensive fronts. They're coming out. They got a huge defensive front, and they're running game. So you see a lot of times where, hey, they're running the game and the guard stretches out too far to the right to his tackle, and they want to twist game, and that defensive end is coming in untouched. You know,
yeah, in our offensive line, you don't see too many games in the preseason.
Yeah, you don't, because you're not going to show. You're not going to show all that. So,
yeah, it's more vanilla.
Yeah, so, too, even though I still say that Jets' defensive line is one of the best in the league, some of those sacks, 3 or 4 of those sacks, at least 3 or 4 of those sacks, those guys are in games that we used to. And those things you're going to get better with time. You're going to get better throughout the season. So from that standpoint, those no-touch sacks, as we call them, I can look at those, and those are things. Those are mental errors. We can get those taken care of. But we still there are at times where I've seen the Jets defensive line just physically, man, oh man, mano y mano, whoop or bleed. So the thing is, it was, you look at today's game, preseason practice, if it gets too hot, they call practice off. You see that the starters don't play a lot of quarters in the preseason, and then you just happen to open up in New York and it's 97 degrees on the field. And that plays a pivotal part. So I'm looking and I'm trying to, I'm trying to make excuses for how bad our offensive line looked. But I think they're going to get better throughout the season.
And I think the guy that really gets overlooked on this team is Adam Jones. He held Brandon Marshall to 3 receptions on 22 yards. I mean, the guy continues to every year get better. I mean, mind-blowing. Everybody talks about Atkins. They talk about Dunlap. They're great players. Carlos Dansby looked really good. But to me, Adam Jones being able to hold Brandon Marshall to 3 catches on 22 yards was huge. And leading into the Pittsburgh game, if you remember last year, the 2 games Jones played against Brown didn't do anything spectacular. It was the game here in Cincinnati where Jones got hurt that Brown went off.
Yeah, we're definitely this week we're gonna have our hands full with Pittsburgh. But going back to that Jet game, and overall, I think our defense played better as the quarters, as the game went on. I think the biggest glaring fact for me, Mike, is the fact that I look at this defense. That's a different defense without 55. We're, in my opinion, we are a totally different defense. 55 brings that enthusiasm. He brings that physicality. He brings that confidence. And I think, looking at that game defensively, I think our D-line, we played well in spots. We got better when they did. We gave us some yards, but when it was time to keep them out of the end zone, which in football, that's how you win games. You can give up yardage, but if you can keep them kicking field goals, you're going to be successful in this league. I think your defensive backs played, pretty well because you did. You're talking about Decker and Brandon Marshall, 2 big physical receivers, and those guys are going to give their opponents all season some problems. My issue with the defense, I don't think the linebackers played well. In my opinion, Mike, at all.
I thought Dansby played all right. I thought the other guys were well below what they should have been, especially Maliuga.
Yeah. When I say that, Dansby looked like he was leading the lead tackle as far as the linebackers. But Mike, a lot of his tackles were 7, 8, 9 yards down the field. When you're looking at that, you got a 5, 6 yard, 7 yard run. Of course you're making a play. There was a lot of times when I'm seeing the defense. I don't think the D line, the linebackers were in correspondence with the defensive line. They were out of sync. You'll see a defensive lineman taking the B gap, and the linebacker's supposed to be in the A gap, and he bounces out. I see Dansby coming in and dipping in, and the running back dips outside. So, it's going to get better. It's going to get better. But if we had a glaring weakness to me, and that's probably, because I'm missing 55, and he's not there, and there was a lot of things that I've seen, a lot of mistakes, some of those seam routes Vinny Ray a little late getting to the ball, a little late going up there with number 2 receiver up in the slot, which resulted in the Jets having some big plays. But overall, our defense did what they needed to do. There was some times where they forced the Jets to kick field goals. And this game, when you can keep an opponent against us to right around that 20, 17-point range right there, I think we're going to have a successful year if we can continue to do that.
Yeah, I mean, if we hold teams at 22 points, we're going to win most of our games with the offense. I mean, that'll take us to the Pittsburgh game, which, as always, when we talk about injuries are the big thing here. The Bengals, of course, will be without Tyler Eifert again. They're without Burfict because he's suspended. Darquez Denard looks like there's more of a chance this week he will play. If you look on the Pittsburgh side, they had a lot of casualties in their season-opening win against Washington. You got Ryan Shazier, who's listed as questionable. Marcus Wheaton's listed as questionable. Cody Wallace is listed as questionable. So, I mean, injury-wise, I know we're missing Eifert and Burfict, but they're going to be missing a few guys too, it looks like.
Yeah. When I look at that and questionable, all those guys, they're going to play Sunday. And they're going to play Sunday because it's the Cincinnati Bengals coming into town. The last time we met each other was a very physical, volatile game. I'll guarantee you all 3 of those guys are going to play Sunday. So from any standpoint, from an advantageous standpoint, I think they'll have a better advantage because. First of all, because we don't have Eifert, we don't have Burfict, and then it's in Pittsburgh. So I think from that standpoint, those guys, they're a little bumped up. In the NFL, you're going to play hurt, you're going to be hurt. So I think we have our work cut out. But it's Steeler week, man. It's going to be tough. Pittsburgh Steelers, Cincinnati Bengal game. It's going to be a tough, rumble, physical match. Sunday at 1.
Yeah, and I think the key to this game is going to be whether the Bengals can run the ball or not. Because if they can run the ball even mildly successfully, I think, as we've seen, A.J. Green, his last 6 games against the Pittsburgh Steelers, 50 catches, 720 yards, 4 touchdowns. If the Bengals can move the ball at all, and this is where I expect Jeremy Hill to get between the tackles, run downhill, and have some success.
Yeah, exactly. We have to against the Pittsburgh Steelers. We have to be able to run the ball. We have to be able to run the ball inside the tackles. We have to be able to mix in Giovanni Bernard in there in order to open up that passing game. And as you said, A.J. Green has had some phenomenal numbers the last couple of meetings against Pittsburgh. I don't expect that to stop. I don't expect it to drop off. Matter of fact, I think he's going to build on what he did last week. And it's hard to play better than how he played last week.
Yeah.
But I think.
But you know what? Pittsburgh doesn't have a Darrelle Revis, even if he is getting up there in age in their defensive backfield. And the other thing that really stood out to me, I didn't get to watch much of the Steelers-Redskins game because my high school team had practice. But the Steelers had 0 sacks and only 2 quarterbacks hits on Kirk Cousins' 44 dropbacks last week. If they have the same lack of success, I think getting Andy Dalton, I think the Bengals will score 40 points on them.
Yeah, we look at. I looked at and I pretty much watched all of that Redskin game. They were trying to get the ball out quick, but I don't think Pittsburgh defensive line does not compare to the Jets defensive line. So from that standpoint, I think it'll be a little more even than it was last week. But like you said, it was the Redskins. They didn't put a lot of pressure on those guys. But I think their front seven, Pittsburgh's front seven, played extremely well against those guys. I think those guys are going to be jacked up against us. But I think from a physical standpoint, we can control the line of scrimmage, and we're definitely going to need one of our wide receivers to step up and make some plays. And if we can do that, like you said, I don't know about scoring 40, but I can see our offense moving the ball, taking some time off the clock, controlling the game, controlling the line of scrimmage. and that would definitely give us, better opportunity to become successful.
Well, see, my point on the 40 is this. The Steelers' DBs are really young. And if you let Andy Dalton stand back there instead of Kirk Cousins and nobody's touching him, I think it's going to be a long day for him. That's all I'm saying there with the 40 is I just think with young DBs, if they don't get any pressure, it's going to be a really long game for them. I think offensive line-wise, I think their offensive line is slightly better than what it was last year. You do have an injury to a center right now. Their backup center's also out. But you got Geno Atkins, Carlos Dunlap. I mean, the key to this game is the linebackers being where they're supposed to be and being able to stop D'Angelo Williams because he ran for 143 yards and 2 touchdowns a couple days ago against Washington.
Yeah, Mike, he looked good. What is he, 33, 34 years old?
I don't know. It seems like he's been around since, I think he played in the 78 championship game, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
I think he was in the league before you were, Joe.
Yeah, man, he looked good. He looked good. The thing that bothers me, that when I don't say bother, I would say worries me some, is that their speed. Their line. You got those guys can run. Their defensive line is not as big and stout as the Jets, but those guys are quick. They're agile. And I think when I was looking at the different games and different twists that the New York Jets defensive line was running, were running last week, I see Pittsburgh. Those guys, that D line, that front seven, they're quicker. They're quicker than the Jets were. And I when I seen those blown assignments, when I seen those no touch sacks, when I seen those holes getting clogged up against the run, it was a problem with speed, and I think with Pittsburgh, they're going to have to use their speed in order to neutralize our physicality on offense. And I see that as an issue as far as our offense going against their defense. But our defense, I think our guys, I've always said that we're going to go as far as that front four takes us. And
I think it's the front seven, Joe, because if the linebackers don't do their job behind the front four, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. And it's going to be, Burfict is going to pick us up, but that we're talking about week 4.
But last year we missed him for 8 weeks and went 8-0 also.
Yeah.
So
now, what's the deal with Ray Malaluga? I think he only played what, 12, 14 plays or something like that?
Hey, Joe, I can't really say what's up with Ray Malaluga, but if you call me after this show, I'll tell you.
Yeah.
No, seriously.
I don't know. I think Pittsburgh week. I think he's going to need to be in there just to bring the physical part of his game. We're definitely our linebackers are going to be the key. Dansby and Ray. They're going to have to make sure that they are filling in the proper gaps. Because you see, Pittsburgh was they were slicing up the Redskins. They were hitting holes, but they were going through the line untouched. So when you have running through holes like that, it makes it tough. So we're going to definitely have to make sure that we execute our assignments and cover the proper gaps and do our responsibility. And I think if we can do that, we definitely have to neutralize that run and get to Big Ben and not let Big Ben sit back there and pick us apart and let that speed, because they just have flat out speed on the outside with those wide receivers. Those guys can flat out run.
Well, you remember they're dropping down to using guys like Eli Rogers now too, because you got Marcus Wheaton got hurt during the game. They're not sure about him coming back yet. Of course, you lost Bryant last year, or at the start of this year for first 8 games? Yeah,
first 8 games, yeah.
Yeah, but, there's not as much speed there. But the thing, I don't worry about their passing game against us. I worry about the run game.
Yeah. I think our Pac-Man, I think Pac-Man is going to play well. 27 still, Mike, 27 still concerns me.
Drake Kirkpatrick?
Yeah, I just don't see him being very successful against.
He actually played halfway decent last week. He made a nice play in the end zone too to break up a pass.
Yeah, he made a nice play. There's a lot of times he's out of place.
I know. I'm trying to be positive, Joe. Come on.
Yeah, I understand. But I'm who they next to Mike, but I'm looking at it, and this is a game. It's early in the season. It's the second week. And it's the same for them. They're looking at it and they know, hey, this is a tough game, because you know what? Whoever loses this game, they have to sit here and seethe and think about that loss, and you can't do anything about it all the way until the latter part of December.
Yeah, but the good thing is this: if the Bengals lose it, you still get them back here. If Pittsburgh loses it, I think it's a lot bigger game for Pittsburgh, because if you come out and lose the home game to the Bengals and drop a game behind, and you still have to go to Cincinnati. I know they've had great success, and I mean we've had more success down there, and they've had more success here in the last 5 years. But I still think this is probably a bigger game on the Pittsburgh side, because they also know that not just having to come to Cincinnati. When they come to Cincinnati, chances are you're going to have Tyler Eifert and Vontaze Burfict there too.
That's true, Mike. We're coming in town, and we don't have two of our better players, and we're coming there. We're in Pittsburgh. We come there and we beat them, and they're at full strength. They don't have Le'Veon Bell, but with the way that running back is running, you don't need Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon Bell is not going to.
I don't know. Le'Veon Bell is still scarier than D'Angelo Williams is a great running back, but Le'Veon Bell may be the best running back in the league.
Oh yeah. But you're still looking at numbers. You're still looking at what D'Angelo did last week, and those numbers. You have to keep it under control, and we played well against Le'Veon before he got hurt last year, but it's us. I don't worry about, whether or not he's the best running back. I worry about us. If we can go in and our front four, they can get up, rush the passer. They can stay in those rush lanes. Our linebackers can fill the proper gaps. I think our front seven will be successful enough to help out our defensive backs, our corners, with all that speed that Pittsburgh has.
All right, so real quick, you played in a lot of Steeler games. Do you remember your first Steeler game? Was it 1986, the Sunday night game?
1986, man, and I just remember just walking out and saying, I'm playing against the Steelers, man. This is you got to think about Mean Joe Green and Dwight White and Ernie Holmes and L.C. Greenwood, Jack Lambert.
Yeah, they still had John Stallworth running around on that team, didn't they?
Stallworth still there. Webster was still there. Chuck Noll was still there. So you just look, and it's just as a young player, you just think about the Pittsburgh Steelers and the Steel Curtain, and Immaculate Reception and Franco Harris. So you go into the game thinking, all those things, but once you get down and once you strap it on, man, and once you get out there and you're just trying to basically, execute your defensive responsibilities, all that other stuff goes out the window, man. It's another game, and then you realize, hey, we're just as good as these guys. But, there's always been, going to, Three Rivers back in the day. You think about that, the Steeler mystique and the Steel Curtain. I love Jack Lambert, and Mel Blount, and those guys, man. Everything that they did back in the 70s, man. You love that. But the thing about it, it wasn't until when I came to the Bengals, I learned what it felt like to have just total disdain for another organization, for another team, for another color. And it's even to this day, years later, I hate black and yellow. I'm actually in my man cave right now, Mike. I'm looking for anything black and yellow there. You're not going to find it.
You get some black and yellow toilet paper, maybe, Joe.
Yeah, pretty much. I should go buy a lot of that this year. So it's Steeler week, man, and you think about that, and you just think about the rivalries, and you just think about your just total dislike for the whole organization. And, there's some great guys off the field. You see those guys and playing some golf tournament with those guys, but as a competitor, as a fan, as a Bengals fan, as a part of Houday Nation, you just despise everything Pittsburgh. And, and I'm hoping our guys just can go in there and just do their job, man, and we can come out with a Pittsburgh just to get that bitter taste. Because, Mike, don't you still taste that little bitterness, that little lemon, the little bite of lemon in your mouth?
It ruined it for me watching the Jets game even. I mean, I was sitting there watching the game, and I just sat there and watched it and just waited for something to go wrong. Yeah. I was just hoping it would stay close, and then maybe we'd get lucky and win at the end, which is what happened. But, I mean, it's even like when Nugent makes the field goal to give us the lead. I'm thinking, there's 54 seconds left. They're still going to go down and kick a field goal, and we're going to lose. I mean, it's so ingrained to me now to expect something bad to happen. It's hard to even watch a game sometimes.
And that's tough. That's tough, and it's tough, to hear that being a former player, and it's even tough now, just being a fan, and just to know that, Mike, really, that's real, man. That's a reality for Bengal fans.
Yeah, I mean, Joe, you can't tell me you don't feel the same way watching the game a little bit.
You know what? I don't think it's as obvious with me, because I just want to believe that we're going to get it done. But there's when I felt pretty confident that Andy was going to go down there and we were going to either kick a field goal or score a touchdown. I was pretty confident.
But see, my problem was this: I thought we were going to do it too, but then I thought they were going to come back and do it to us. I mean, I've seen this so much, Joe. And see, Joe, you got to also give me this. You may have played for the Bengals, but that means you became a Bengal fan in 1986. I've been watching this stuff since, I was born in 1968. So I've seen how this goes all the time. I mean, how many organizations lose 3 of their best players because, you get Greg Cook, who's supposed to be the greatest quarterback ever, hurts his arm. Yeah. You get Mike Reed, who's a great defensive tackle, plays 5 years and goes write songs in, Nashville. You got you get Tommy Casanova, who was a great safety, who decides after a few years he doesn't want to risk his hands, and he goes and becomes a surgeon. And then you get Kajana Carter, and then you get, for some reason, they draft David Klingler and N'Keal Smith, and it just, after a while, it kind of beats you down to where you get to the point to think, well, is this ever going to happen?
Yeah, and I think the Bengal Nation, I think the fans, we can be excited, Mike. We can be excited by, if you look at, because you have to look at those years after PB died, and Mike taking over, and some of just the football moves that he was making. I don't think Paul Brown would have made a lot of those moves. A lot of guys that he drafted.
I don't think Paul Brown would have made any of the moves he made between 91 and probably 2002.
And I can totally 100% agree with. And you build your team, the core of your team. You build it through the draft. And unfortunately, you just had a lot of guys who.
We didn't start building it through the draft till about 2010, 2011.
Yeah.
They had a couple lucky drafts. If you look 2000, I think 2002, 2003, and 2004, they had good drafts, which led to 2005, a playoff team. And then they went back, crappy drafts 6, 7, and 8, which kill. It's cyclical. That I don't think it's any coincidence that the Bengals have made the playoffs 5 years in a row. So have the New England Patriots. And I think the thing that you notice with teams that make the playoffs a lot is not that they draft well in the first and second round, but they draft well from the third round through the seventh round, which is where you get all your special teams players and all your depth. Yeah. Because you get teams like even the Green Bay Packers, they don't draft well. So their problem is they'll start the year out great. They'll sustain an injury or two on the offensive line or get a wide receiver hurt, and they've got nobody that can replace them.
Yeah, I totally agree, Mike. I look at us, the organization now, and where we are, and the draft, the guys, all our core guys. We got through the draft. we have depth. We can go start the season 8-0 without a Burfict. We can still get to the playoffs with a backup quarterback. And that would have been unheard of, back then. We have enough players because even right now because we're playing. We have LaFell. LaFell really didn't make a huge imprint or impact.
Well, he had the one big catch when we were inside our 20 to get him like 31 yards that got him out and led to a score. Yeah. And that's really all you need from him is you need a couple guys to make a couple plays here and there while A.J. Green's gouging everybody else.
Yeah, you need that. You need that, because we got, you would get, 3-4 great catches from Marvin Jones and, 3-4 catches from Sanu and Eifert to give us, 5-6 catches, so you're going to have to, we're going to have to spread it around because even if AJ has another 12 catches for 150 yards, with the Pittsburgh Steelers there's another wide receiver that's going to have a good day.
I would say I would look for Tyler Boyd because remember Tyler Boyd played his college football in Pittsburgh at Heinz Field.
Yeah.
You might have Boyd if he can get us 4 or 5 catches. You get LaFell make a big play or two. Be able to run the ball a little bit. So what's your prediction on this game?
Mike, I see this going just like it has gone the last 3 or 4 times. I think this is going to be a physical game. I think they're going to make plays. I think we're going to make plays. I think it's going to go down to the wire just like last week. And despite my reservations and despite of not having Burfict and offensively not having Tyler Eifert, I still see us winning 30-28. I think we're going to squeak it out. I think our offense is going to be able to move the ball, but I think Ben is going to make some plays downfield. I think Antonio Brown is going to make some plays downfield, and I think D'Angelo Williams is going to make a play here and there. And the biggest thing for us is just to contain him. Just don't let D'Angelo run for 175 yards. Don't let
you limit the big plays. Take the big plays away where you don't get the Brown 80-yard touchdown catch or the Williams 70-yard touchdown run. Make them earn everything they get.
Yeah, make them earn. And I think we can be happy about going in here and coming out with a victory. I think it would even add a little more to our season because it'll be able to at least get that bitter taste, from how we ended last year. And I think it'll be huge mentally for us to get that victory down in Pittsburgh, especially since the way the season ended last year.
Yeah, and I think anytime you can go in the NFL and play and have your home opener when you're already 2-0 and won 2 road games against 2 teams that won double-digit games last year, I think that's huge.
That's pretty big, Mike. That's pretty big. And I say that both of those teams are going to be in the playoffs. I have no doubt, no reservations whether or not the.
Well, my only worry about the Jets, if you look at their schedule is really difficult.
It's tough. They're tough teams. They're tough.
They're a tough team. I would say this. I think the Jets are more talented than the Steelers.
Yeah.
They just don't have a Hall of Fame quarterback. They got Fitzpatrick, who I think people give a raw deal to. I think Fitzpatrick's a solid quarterback in the NFL. He's a good starter. He's just not Ben Roethlisberger.
He's not Ben Roethlisberger.
And I think that's the difference in the 2 teams is you've got a big-time quarterback there. If you put Ben Roethlisberger on the New York Jets, they're the best team in the NFL.
Yeah.
You got Matt Forte, you got Decker, you got Marshall, you got a great offensive line, you got a great defensive line. Your DBs, I think, have slipped a little bit. Your linebackers are solid. I think that team would be a Super Bowl team immediately with him. I think they'd be a Super Bowl team with Dalton immediately.
Yeah, they will. You're talking about upper echelon quarterback on their team. Their defense is dominant. They have weapons. They have weapons at every position. The running back and the 2 wideouts pose huge problems for defenses. So, like you said, hey, that's a difference, and that could be the difference in a lot of their games that they have with quarterbacks. But I think that they'll go in. I think they'll squeak out and maybe be a wild-card team. But I know they're going to be in the running, so that it would be, man, monumental to go into week 3, a home opener against the defending Super Bowl champions, and that would just, the stadium, PB Stadium is going to be rocking, man. I'll definitely be down there. My tailgate will be rocking, and Bengal Nation will be excited, man. So this is huge. This is huge, because when you're going as a fan, you're going to come into next week. We beat Pittsburgh. If we go into Pittsburgh, we lay an egg. It's that home opener is not going to be as special because it's you're going to still have that monkey on your back of the Pittsburgh Steelers. With that, if we can go in here, I think, Mike, that will be huge.
All right, and I got the Bengals winning 20-17 on a Mike Nugent field goal to win the game. So hopefully it works out that way. Guys, make sure you check us out next weekend. The Bengals already told us Bengals wide receiver Cody Core will be our guest on next week's show. So this is a guy that I was really impressed with in the preseason, especially his ability to block downfield, Joe. Oh,
yeah. He's a physical guy. Has a physical presence, got good speed, good size, good hands. I think he's going to do well. Being a young guy, I think he's going to be more comfortable the more games that he plays in, the more reps that he gets. Because when you're just looking, when you have a guy who's in that physical size, and he has, the type of hands that he has, he can, once he gets his confidence level up to this thing we call the NFL, and realizes that, not only can he be successful, but he can be one of the better wide receivers. In this level, Mike, it's all about confidence, because you have so many guys physically talented, physically gifted, but mentally they just don't have the confidence. I think the what he brings to the table on paper, is huge. He just has to go out and consistently apply that. And,
Joe, I don't even think that's the NFL. I think that's life itself.
Life itself.
You got to go out. You got to be confident. You just got to take what you want.
Yeah, exactly.
But all right, so make sure you check us out next week with Cody Core. And let's see. Also, check out get this, Joe. There's a Pittsburgh Steelers show on our network now. You know what? The Pittsburgh Steelers show last week did really good. It got I think over 1,000 listens. But our Cincinnati Bengals show got a little over 3,000. So that'll tell you Bengals fans are
Who they nation. Way to go.
You'll be able to check out the Steelers show also coming up on thegruelingtruth.net. That's with Brian Schmidt, the host. Former Pittsburgh Steeler kick returner and wide receiver Dwight Stone. Great guy, even though he is a Steeler, but he is a hell of a good guy. But he co-hosts a show every week with Brian, so you'll be able to check that show out here before the game also, so make sure you look at that. We got our Los Angeles Rams weekly show with Oz Davis and former Notre Dame tight end legend and Los Angeles Ram tight end Tony Hunter. Also, out of left field, our baseball show. This week we'll have Adam Burke, the host of Baseball Tonight on ESPN. So the guys are excited about that, so make sure you check that out also. Check out our main sponsor, Gridiron Mow, at www.gridironmow.com. So I had one other one, too. I don't know if you've heard this name before, Joe, but you're even older than me, so you probably heard of him. We got former Detroit Lion Hall of Fame defensive back Lem Barney will be my guest next Wednesday on the Legend Show.
All right. Yeah, that's awesome. Lem Barney.
57 interceptions in a career, and a 10-year career is not too bad. Played in the same defensive backfield with Dick LeBeau, too, with the Detroit Lions.
Dick LeBeau, yeah.
So everybody make sure you check that out. That'll be up probably next Wednesday night. Lem Barney, Hall of Famer. So for Joe Kelly, I'm Mike Goodpaster. You've been listening to The Grueling Truth, where the legends speak.